Hello everyone and welcome to GPVWC Super League. This is round 3 of the championship, the Australian Grand Prix from the brand new layout of the Albert Park circuit, which we've been doing all of the junior categories on over the week, and which is actually not that different from the old layout, but there are some notable changes such as the missing out of the chicane in the second sector. There you see the new and improved, you could say, I guess that is a matter of opinion, Albert Park circuit spinning around in the middle of your screen there. and in the background the qualifying session, which has just got off to a start. I'm being joined today by Ross McIntyre, as always, my co-commentator, and of course the broadcast that you're seeing, the sights and sounds, are being brought to you by our broadcast director Szymon Frelik. But first, Ross, this is the first Grand Prix held at the Albert Park Street Circuit in its current formation. We've got there a couple of days before Formula One. What are your feelings about this circuit?
Well, firstly, hello, Caitlin. As always, a pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be alongside you and in the GPVWC commentary booth once again. I feel like the new layout, from what I've seen, it's been a very Marmite kind of character. A lot of people really like it. A lot of people, aren't so fond of it. But one thing that is absolutely for certain is this new layout is a lot faster. It's much wider. Of course, we've got rid of that chicane as well down the back section, so it's just flat out into that left right, what was turn 9 and 10. I'm now not entirely sure what it is, turn 7, 8 I think it is now, because obviously it's a slightly new layout. But yeah, a lot wider in some corners and a lot faster as well, so the drivers can really commit themselves a lot more, bit less downforce maybe as well. Sometimes look through here, through the right-hander, for example, we're on board with Stefan Roll. That would be, down in 4th and 3rd gear on the old layout. That's, 5th, 6th gear now, for some of the top guys out there. So it is very fast. And of course, this new section as well, absolutely flat out, banging into the top of the rev limiter before slamming on the brakes. It's a lot earlier on the brakes for the left-right. And then, of course, it's pretty similar towards the end of the lap. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Of course, we've got here before the F1, shall we say. We've seen some action from all of the other championships we've got here in GPVWC, from the Academy, and now, of course, all the way up to the Super League. And there's Stefan Roll at the start of this qualifying session, 2 purple sectors so far from our reigning champion. So it's great to see, he's getting out there, clearly enjoying himself on an absolute flyer. Crosses the line now, and the target time from him, it's going to be a 1:17.5. Oh no, it's 1:17.7 as Bot goes to the top of the 1:17.5. Of course, private qualifying, we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, it's very Marmite track, but very fast. And well, if any of the other races were anything to go by so far here at GPVWC, lots of action and well, maybe a few crashes, but we'll have to wait and see.
I've been saying this over the last couple of weeks, the last 2 weeks. Oh, I'm accidentally streaming this Discord. Whoopsie daisy. Yes, sorry. I've been saying this the last 2 weeks, but this circuit is actually not that different from the old layout, and actually a lot less different than I was expecting it to be. Aside from, obviously, the chicane that they've completely missed. I mean, you're seeing the part of the course right now where it would have been. Aside from that, and also the much faster layout of turn 6, yes, turn 6. The rest of the course is basically exactly the same. Even turn 13, which looks very different on a map due to its more kind of squared off nature. I mean, the apex, where you actually turn into the corner, is basically exactly where it was anyway. So all that's really changed is the parts of tarmac that you weren't using. I think it's really interesting how they've done that. I think that it's based more around giving the cars a bit of a safety cushion rather than actually changing how the circuit flows. But it does still change the racing. It's slightly lower tire wear due to the missed chicane. We have one more lap in the race than we did before, I believe. And we'll see how that affects the cars today, as Dan Brewer has a big twitch. Also, one other thing to consider is that there is actually a slight difference between this layout and the Formula One layout, in that we have 3 DRS zones, and Formula One is going to have 4 DRS zones. So when we head through the section, of course, where the chicane used to be, down through turn 9, there is no DRS there, whereas there will be at the weekend.
Yeah, so do keep that in mind, of course. So down here, it's going to be all about the slipstream. No DRS, you've got to do it on your by yourself, on board with Danborough at the moment in the number 5 VBM machine. You can see the commitment that drivers just have to it. This left-right chicane, absolutely ringing the car through the ladder. That was right on the edge from Daniel Brewer. Awesome stuff. Currently 25th, but hasn't set a lap yet, so he'll be looking to get a good performance. He's had a strong season so far. Let's see if he can continue that running into the future. Coming through the last few corners now into that slightly different, but not very different, final corner Round he comes into the final section, a little bit wider on the inside as well, and because that pit wall has actually been moved 2 meters over to the right-hand side. But as he comes to the line, it's an 18.1, moves himself up to P15 in the standings, but still 9 minutes left to go in this qualifying session. Still plenty of time for things to happen. There is Eros Masculi again, yet to set a lap, and then comes in despite being on a lap. So obviously not too happy, maybe a mistake being made in the last few corners, comes back in. Of course, again, a private qualifying session from this season onwards here in GPVWC. That is a new regulation that's been implemented. Essentially means that you're on track on your own again. If you've been following us for the last 2 races, you've got it now, but you might need a reminder if you're new to GPVWC. This round is Canapino there, purple first sector. He's absolutely flying. Essentially, everyone is out on track for qualifying, but you're out on track for yourself. It's a bit of a weird concept to wrap your head around, but everyone's out there, but it's just that you can't see anybody else. No one else is on track with you except you, so it's kind of everyone's in their own private session, essentially. Another purple sector there, Canapino absolutely flying. So, as he comes around the final sectors, so you've got to rely on yourself. There's no slipstream. It's all about what you can do on the track. No traffic, of course, either. Round the final corner, Augustin Canapino, what does he do as he comes to the line? 117.3 is the target time. It's a 117.6. Just misses out in the final sector, goes to 5th place. Wow, Canapino flying, and Thomas Harvey now as well. 2 purple sectors to the track, evolving very, very quickly. Thomas Harvey to the line, and it will be 4th place. So the first 2 sectors evolving very, very quickly. A few drivers struggling in the final sectors, it would seem, but well, the lap time is tumbling very, very quickly already. Well, no surprises there that we're smashing the pole times from last year because the track is a few seconds faster because we've taken a chicane out, but the times are tumbling as the session continues. Well, 7.5 minutes left to go. Still plenty of time for the times to drop even further.
Now, those purple sectors were, of course, showing that the drivers were faster than the pole time, the provisional pole time of Yannick Buck. Interestingly, the fastest second sector overall, though, the true purple sector, was set by Maciej Winnick, who only went 16th with that last lap. So obviously, I mean, potentially Maciej setting his car up for maybe straight line speed, because of course you do have that, this section that we're on right now in the second sector. But whatever the case, his first and third sectors were vastly lacking, I'm afraid. Here's Liam Duval. That is not a true purple second sector there that he's got, but it is still pretty quick. And he's approaching the end of the lap for what will be his first time lap to count. He's actually on his 5th lap according to the session, but none have actually been set yet. So he's been back into the pits a few times and possibly had an invalid lap as well in there somewhere. Crosses the line and goes P15 there. So P15 for Liam Duval. Good to see, big twitch from Eros Masculi. Good to see Adam Maguire, the 2020 champion, back in GPVWC Super League. He missed the Bahrain Grand Prix, and I don't know why, but whatever the case, he's made it back for today's competition, and he will be racing for VBM Esports, although is yet to set a flying lap in this session, as is Mascioli, but he is about to complete one, and that's going to go 23rd at this point in time. So far, as we approach we're just over 5 minutes remaining now in the session. Leon Block there improving. But it's Yannick Bock currently at the top, followed by Alessandro Quinte, Germano Zappala, Leon Bock, who we're on board with right now, and then Thomas Harvey in 5th position, fresh off the back of 2 pretty solid results in the first couple of rounds of the championship. Williams, Canapino, Raw, Biancalilla, and Stepkovsky, the rest of the top 10 at this point in time, but that is probably all going to change.
Indeed it is. Leon Bot goes to P3, but yellow in the final sector. So it seems a few drivers just struggling a little bit in that final sector. So they're flying through the first 2. And then just getting to the final sector, dropping big chunks of time, 5/6 of a second. Again, Yankatao there, 6/10 off yellow, goes to 26th. So, very, very strange to see. Rolt now is purple in the middle sector. It's, who really knows what's going on, to be honest, with that final sector. Let's see what Stefan Roll can do from P9 as he comes around the final turn. A 117.33, the target lap time. It's a 117.5 again. Yellow in that final sector. very, very bizarre. I'm not entirely sure what's going on, if drivers are just overdriving, or the slightly new layout in the final section has got a slightly tighter, penultimate corner, which, in real terms is no different from the old one. So I don't know if maybe people just pushing too hard, overshooting, just getting the throttle down too early maybe. I'm really not that sure. Maybe tyres overheating as well. That could be something, getting into that final sector, pushing really hard on those softs. Oh, Fournier! Wow, a big, big wobble and a tap into the wall as well on the exit of the right-hander. He'll be diving into the pits. That lap is out of the door, as you can see. That was a big, big wobble there. Jan Dragoon, meanwhile, pushing hard, comes around the final corner. 2 green sectors for him as well, all within a tenth of the fastest time of Bok. Comes to the line now. It's a 118. So, wow, dropping 5 tenths in the final sector. And Zapala, here we go. What? Zapala, 2 purple sectors and then comes in.
He's going to be setting up for one final run, which may benefit him, but it does mean, of course, that, it's quite a bold gamble, because if he, he was clearly going to improve on his lap, and if he doesn't go quicker than he was going to go, if that makes sense, then it's not going to pay off. Here's David Fiduk. He is down on his time, the double champion there for Epic Racing Team. And Liam Duval improving slightly in the first sector. The 2020 Super Lights, or Super League Lights as it was at the time, champion, who absolutely dominated that series, won 10 races on the bounce, and then immediately scarpered for Super League, where he should have been from the beginning. And he's now racing in Super League once again. The winner of the San Marino Grand Prix had a very tough time at the Bahrain Grand Prix last time out, and dropped to 4th in the championship, but attempting to improve, and looks like he will improve on this particular qualifying lap. Out of the final corner, does he get into the top 10 maybe? 14th, so actually still not particularly good from Liam Duval's standards. He's won at this track before in Super League, and it's a little bit of an anomaly as to why he's that far down at this point in time. And I'm not sure that he's going to get another attempt unless he's able to get around in record, well, not exactly record time here, but unless he's able to get around and still has enough tyres or fuel to start one last flying lap.
Well, yeah, again, just drivers struggling in that final sector. I'm really not quite sure what's going on through there, but we've got a minute and a half left on the clock in this qualifying session. Of course, this will be the grid for your race tonight, following this 10-minute warm-up as always, and then a formation lap, then it's the 5 red lights. Off we go. Have fun, ladies and gentlemen. Jeffrey Fournier coming to the end of the first sector. This will be his final push lap, I believe, or maybe not. No, actually, I think he will have time to get around. So Jeffrey Fournier is going to have one more go. Bianca Lilla, purple in the middle sector, taking a very strange run to the line, goes to 10th, so a great lap there from Manuel Bianca Lilla. Matthew Williams as well, 2 green sectors out there. All these guys do have time for one more lap if they so wish. In the MDR car, comes to line, he's currently P8, does he improve, goes to P7, again yellow in the final sector though, but very, very close. These top guys, once again, you're looking down to 10th, it's 0.3 of a second, covering the top 10, very, very close out there in terms of pure pace, as always here in GPVWC. Who are you supporting to come and get the pole position, please? Of course, don't be afraid to comment, like, share, subscribe on all the social medias, and on all the streams as well. It's a pleasure to have you along here as we enter the dying stages of this qualifying session. On board with reigning champion Stefan Rolt for Edge Esports. It's yellow through the first sector. Oh, touching the grass a little bit through the right-hander as well. You can really, really push it through there as the checkered flag comes out now. So this will be the final lap for Stefan Rolt. It's currently Yannick Bok on pole position, but who knows, could be all changing as we head through to this final section, through the left, right, and it's purple in the middle sector for Stefan Rolt, but he is slightly down, I think, overall, due to that first sector. So it's all going to be what he can do. Has he made sure his tyres are okay again through that much more square right-hander? Nearly abusing track limits. If I was a steward, that would have been stricken off the lap times. Oh, bit of a wobble through the entry and the mid-corner, and he's given up. So Stefan Rolt not on the pace. Liam Bock, purple in the middle sector. Can he improve? Can he pip his sibling to the pole position? Coming to the line, it's a 17.3 to beat. No! Stays in third. Luke Maguire, meanwhile, not having the best qualifying, down in 17th, but again a purple middle sector. Green in the first as well. Yannick and Leon Bock both not out at the moment. Can Quinte's Luke Maguire, one of the Maguires, go to third? Luke Maguire, can he improve even further on that one? Zapala goes to second. Luke Maguire can only manage 14th place. Mitchie Hoyer again. Oh, Mitchie Hoyer decides not to at the very last minute. So a few drivers bailing out of laps at the last minute. Quinte joins him. So it looks like Yannick Bock is going to be on pole once again.
I'm surprised that Quinte bailed out there because that looked like it could have been a pole contested lap there. So he probably made a mistake in the last sector. Here are the results. It's Yannick Bock leading from a Pescara ADG pair there in second and third, Germani Zapala and Alessandro Quinte. Adam Maguire will be fourth on the grid, the 2020 champion. And then it's Leon Bock, Stefan Roll, the 2021 and reigning champion. Matthew Williams is P7, then Thomas Harvey, Augustin Canapino, and Manuel Biancalilla. That is Manuel's best qualifying in GPVWC, as far as I know, at least his best in Super League. Daniel Tsepkowski is P11, then the double champion David Fidok. Mitchie Hoyer is P13, fresh off the back of his best result in GPVWC Super League. Then Luke Maguire, Liam Duval, Danu Brewer. Brewer, the championship leader, down in P16. Wow, look out for that today. Jeffrey Fournier is P17. Then Matthias Moose, Giordano Valeriano, Jan Dragoon there, P20. Thomas Voch will be P21. Machin Winnick, P22. Then Yanis Vorburn, Florian Geyer, Max Hammerlink. Philip Pushke, double champion, all the way down in 26th. Eros Masciuli in 27th, then Jan Kato. Robin Panzer had a big crash on his flying lap. I noticed that out of the corner of my eye. So he did not set a flying lap. And David Yunt did not leave the pit lane, which I'm surprised about because I had a look to see if it was a penalty or something, and there are no penalties for this round. So what you see there, your grid order, is how they are going to start. There are no alterations to the order to be put into effect. So Ross, that's your order, and Dan Brewer is starting 16th.
Yeah, big shock there to see Brewer so far down the grid as the warm-up session gets underway. But, I mean, of course, you've got to remember, round one, San Marino, Liam Duval, not the greatest qualifying in the world. He ended up winning that race with a beautifully executed strategy on the one stop. And again, when you consider that, again, it's a slightly new track layout, of course, there'll be the data there from last year, and there will have been, countless hours of testing from each of the drivers. But no one's going to be quite sure how the tyres are going to run in this race. With the faster layout, you've got the heavier braking zone into the left-right, what was turn 9 and 10, due to the faster approach speeds. Obviously, the right-hander, that would have been turn 8, I think. Turn 7, something like that. One of those ones. That's a lot faster now, so that's going to have a bigger impact on your front left. So, you've got heavier braking zones, sharper turns here and there, faster track. So the wear is going to be much more important this year. It's going to be, something to keep an eye on, definitely. So maybe, who knows, we'll see some interesting strategy pulled off by, the likes of Dan Brewer and those further down the grid who we wouldn't be expecting. Up the front, I assume would be, drivers like Adam Maguire who we're following around at the moment. I'm sure those guys there, they'll be running, softs from the start onto your mediums, your hard to go to the end of the race, and a 1, maybe a 2 stop. We'll have to wait and see. But of course, if you're just joining us, hello and welcome to round 3 of the GPVWC Super League Championship here in virtual Australia, down under at the Albert Park Street Circuit, the slightly new Albert Park Street Circuit, of course. And it's a pleasure to have you along with us for the third round of the championship. And as we go on our warm-up, of course, if you're new to GPVWC, if you're new to R Factor 2 Simracing, the warm-up session, essentially it's not a throwaway session. It is quite useful for the drivers, but it's essentially a do what you like session. It's make sure all your hardware's working at home, make sure all your setup's fine, your tyres are all good, and then basically you just run some laps, do some practice starts, crash into people, and then away you go. It's not the most important session in the world, but no, it's crucial for some of the drivers. Some drivers don't even bother heading out, so that's something to notice. There will be a few drivers just sat in the pits, not even bothering, go to the toilet, grab some last-minute food, get in the zone. But some drivers, they like to race their teammates, have a bit of fun. Some drivers just like to make sure that, make sure their strategy is what they want it to be. So it's a warm-up, it's there to warm drivers up, I suppose. But we've got 7.5 minutes left of that, and then you'll be, of course, seeing the classic R Factor 2. Game has a moment, breaks a bit, and then jumping to the grid. Formation lap, and then away we go. So round 3 of the championship will be underway. And, well, it's going to be very interesting to see. Again, Caitlin, as I said earlier, in the other rounds that we've had here at Albert Park so far this season in GPVWC across all of our championships, it's been a bit hectic, I think is safe to say. Been some interesting driving going on, some interesting races. So who knows what's going to happen here at Super League. This is the best of the best in R Factor 2 sim racing. The best of the best single-seated esports drivers around. So it's going to be interesting how they race. Especially given the form of the other race that we've seen against some phenomenal drivers out there have been, driving interestingly, I'll say.
Yeah, luckily it's dry today, and if you saw the Super Lights race, you'll understand why I say luckily. We had a huge crash at the start there, bringing out a red flag, which GPVWC is always very reluctant to fly. And then, of course, throughout the race, people were dropping off and losing front wings, and it was very, very interesting weather. The winner at the end of that race ended up being the driver who started 10th on the grid, which is obviously because they did the best, but also because a lot of the cars that started in front of them had drivers who, misjudged the conditions and ended up knocking wings off and having spins, and some drivers picked up poor strategy decisions throughout the course of the race. Today it's going to be a lot more straightforward due to the weather, although they still have to think about strategy and all of that. And actually, I'd say that strategy is more important here than at a lot of the other Grand Prix on the calendar, because it's so difficult to overtake here. I would probably put this in the top 3 most difficult circuits to overtake on in the calendar, only behind Monaco and possibly also Suzuka. This may be 2nd or 3rd in terms of those circuits. And why that means strategy is important is because you really don't want to come out behind someone. You really do not want to come out behind someone. You've got to, in my opinion, you've got to always make sure that you're on the slower tire than the cars around you until the very end of the race, in which time you want to start coming through the field as other drivers make their late pit stops. But trouble is, if everyone does that, then it's a bit of a stalemate. So yeah, strategy here, you've got to really outsmart your opponents and
sorry,
not make too many mistakes on the track. Sorry, no, that was just me being
No worries. You are correct. It's a funny old circuit, Albert Park. Very, very tricky to overtake around here. Very hard to follow another car. And again, strategy, it is essentially just being in the right place at the right time. It's very much a luck circuit, as I like to call them. Tracks where you can be the fastest in qualifying, fast in the race, have the perfect strategy, and you still might not win because it just hasn't gone your way. I think it was Fangio who said to finish first you must finish. And in regards to the Super League Lights race that you were mentioning earlier as well, again, that's going to come into it as well. You've just got to keep it on the road, keep your head down and hope it all pays off really at Albert Park. There may well be, as we see there, I think that was one of the burst cars just stopping at the exit of turn 2. That's the kind of thing you get. You get drivers just stopping in weird places, having incidents in weird places again. There's not a lot of runoff for the large majority of this circuit, it being a street circuit. Again, Albert Park's one of those street circuits that isn't, your stereotypical Monaco-style street circuit that, motorsport seems to prefer nowadays. It's actually quite a wide base, but there still isn't a lot of runoff. So if you make a mistake, you're going to be in a wall quite quickly if you're not careful. So it's important, keep care of yourself. Take care of your tyres, take care of the car, watch everyone else around you, keep an eye on your opponents and their strategy as well. Philip Pushka there, slowing for what looks like it may be a practice start. Again, that's another thing that you get to see in warm-ups. It's the only session in GPVWC where you can kind of just stop and do a practice start on the track. It's also the only session that we broadcast where you are allowed to escape back to the pits. Again, if you're new to R-Factor 2 or Simracing, if you hit the escape key while you're out on track, it magically, as you've seen there, someone just magically teleported back to their kits because they've just hit the escape key. This is the only session you're allowed to do it in where you can then rejoin the circuit. If you hit the escape key during qualifying or the race, that's it. That's your session over. You've effectively retired your car. But in the warm-up, just do whatever you want, really. It's not really that big of a deal. I mean, I say that, of course, these guys out there pushing super hard, doing the final checks, tests, balances on the car. But, it's not the biggest thing in the world, is it? As we see there, some slipstream battles. Could be a few overtakes coming down this new back section. Flat out 8th gear. Looking at nearly 300 kilometers an hour down there if you're in the slipstream. And, well, of course, we don't have DRS down that section, but, there will be certain series going to Albert Park this weekend that will. And, well, that'll be quite fast, let me tell you. Well, that being said series also doesn't have 30 cars out on track, so who really knows what's going to happen with a minute left to go on the clock in this warm-up session. As just following Thomas Vach around now in the Powered by RSR car. He's currently running with the 25th fastest time. Comes to the line. Looks like he's going to be doing a practice start. Again, you'll be seeing that here. Or he's pulling over and he's had enough, maybe? Who really knows? He either teleports back to... Yeah, he's had enough. So, yeah, again. So it's all kind of just do what you like, really, in this session. And it's good. It's good fun. Just, talk about some last-minute, changes that anything's been happening. Again, no grid penalties to report of in this round, so it's all going to be where you saw people qualifying for the start of the race. So yeah, it's it's just kind of chill, really. 30 seconds left to go. It's after this again, the game kind of breaks and then it doesn't break, and then formation lap, grid, go. 58 laps, I believe it is, and try not to crash and hurt yourself, and have a good race, everyone.
So before we see the grid, let me talk you through some of the ones to watch here. Dan Brewer, of course, is the championship leader, and he starts from 16th on the grid today. He will have to come through with the help of strategy, but he's also got to make some of those moves on track. I mean, he'll have to. He's starting so far down that he is going to have a very tough time of it today. Yannick Bock is second in the championship, but he starts from pole position. He might well be the best qualifier in the series these days, and proving it once again today. Matthias Moos comes into this round third in the championship, although only 1 point behind Yannick Bock, partly because we are still so early in the championship. Liam Naval was the winner at San Marino, and he will be... So he's fourth in the championship. Thomas Harvey is P5. This is the championship standings I'm reading out rather than the qualifying order. We'll get to that in a bit. Maciej Winnick, P6, then Jan Kato, Leon Bock, Germano Zapala, and Jan Grankvist, the top 10, although Jan is not here today. He was standing in the last round for Jan Dragoon, and Jan is back today, so ignore the 10th name I read out there. And the reigning champion is Stefan Roth. He's 11th in the championship with a lot to gain. His championship hasn't really kicked off properly just yet. It looked as if it might be about to at San Marino, but then he picked up a 30-second penalty for contact with Adam Maguire. And at Bahrain, he was rather anonymous. So look for Stefan Roth and see if he can do any better today. There is the circuit, 58 laps of this 5.280 kilometer track. I could have just said 5.28. The 0 is rather redundant at the end of that. And this is round 3 of 16 in the championship. Your commentators are me, Caitlin Penny, and of course Ross McIntyre. And then the broadcast director is Szymon Frelik. We're about to go to the grid, and then we will see the full grid order once again, and we'll read through it just in case you missed the qualifying session, and just in case you can't read for yourself for some reason.
Well, I mean, you never know. Might be some people who missed out. I'm sure everyone in in the who's watching along is literate. I'm very sure. And of course, if you are literate and happen to be watching along, don't be afraid to keep commenting, keep posting on social media with the hashtags GPVWC, hashtag Superleague. Of course, myself, Caitlin especially, she always keeps an eagle eye on what you guys are saying, what you think's going to happen. And we do really appreciate your support, of course, with the liking and the commenting and the subscribing, which you should do if you haven't already as well. It really means a lot to everybody here at GPVWC. And you can see the calendar. That's the word I'm looking for. The calendar for this season. Of course, round 3 of 16. We've got a big old championship coming up for you this year. We of course here in virtual down under the Australian Grand Prix at the Albert Park Street Circuit, the slightly renovated, slightly new Albert Park Street Circuit. Of course, in 2 weeks' time we'll be back again with Portimao, and we've got oh dear me, Azerbaijan followed by Monaco. Well, that'll be fun to say the least. Heading to all the classic tracks. I mean, it's it's GPVWC. It's kind of what we do. We head to all of the classic ones, all of the favourable ones. Of course, we've already been to San Marino and Bahrain this year. If you missed out on those, of course, you can go and watch them back if you so wish. The stream's always uploaded to the YouTube channel post-race. And of course, if you do need to jet off, you can always watch this one back as well afterwards. There we go, end of the warm-up session. And we should be, in a short moment's time, heading onto the grid. Should be seeing drivers teleporting out there in their cars. They hit the go to race button, and then, of course, formation lap, just the one. You don't get more than that, unfortunately. And then, 5 red lights, off they go. Have fun. 58 laps. Look forward to here at Albert Park. And again, we're not entirely sure what's going to happen because it was raining in the Super Lights race. We don't know what's going to happen with the strategy. Again, it's a slightly different layout this year. It's a bit faster, so tyre wear is definitely going to be more important. And Albert Park's always a strange circuit for strategy. It's always a difficult circuit to overtake on. So, frankly, who really knows what's going to happen?
Ruben Machete asking, will we see a crash like on Tuesday? Well, hopefully not. I mean, it's dry this time, which helps. And Lee Davidson saying, yes, hopefully if it wipes out the top 11. And that's because, and that's very specific, but it's because David Feidock, Lee Davidson's first driver, is starting P12. Let's see the grid order one last time before we go to green. There you see Yannick Bock starting from pole position ahead of 2 Pescara ADG cars, and then Adam Maguire in 4th position for the Vodball, the VBM esports team. P5 will be Leon Bock, the brother of Yannick, and then Stefan Rural, reigning champion, P6. Matthew Williams is P7, and then Thomas Harvey will be P8. Augustin Canapino and Manuel Biancalilla are together in the Adonis cars. Daniel Stepkowski is powered by RSR, and then David Feidock will be starting from P12. Michi Hoyer 13th, Luke Maguire P14, Liam Duval 15th, he got his first win at this circuit. Dan Brewer P16, championship leader with a lot to gain. Jeffrey Fournier P17, Mateus Moose 18th, then Giordano Valeriano and Jan Dragoon coming back in the Green Stripes car. Tomasz Vok, Maciej Winnick, Janis Volburn and Florian Gaia. Maciej Winnick had an excellent super sub performance at the circuit a few years ago. Max Hammerlink P25, then Philip Pushke, Jan Katu and Robin Panzer, who had that crash in qualifying and couldn't set a lap. David Yunt, and I don't know why Aros Masciuli is starting from P30, because he definitely did set laps in qualifying, so something's happened there. But yes, he is starting from the very back. That's a little bizarre. Anyway, on to the start.
Yeah, absolutely. My only kind of explanation for that, I guess, is maybe he's had a disconnect at some point and come back in and the game's had a moment. Maybe, I'm not entirely sure.
But the race director manually inputs the grid position, so that can't be right. Anyway,
maybe a lap disqualified.
Only the top 10 going for soft tyres, and then the rest of the grid is like, nope, sooner you than me. So
yeah, mediums for David Jins is on the softs as well, but it's mediums for everyone apart from Valeriano and Philip Pushka on the hard. So big split in the strategy there. But yeah, top 10 on the softs. That'll be interesting to see as the grid kind of forms up. So it's going to be a strategy battle once again, I reckon, Caitlin.
Indeed, and that of course is because the top 10 have to start on the tyre that they've qualified on, and everyone else knows that the mediums are the best tyres to be on at this point in time. Some drivers taking a gamble on on the hard, Eris Masculi is now in position at the back of the grid, and we wait for the 5 red lights. And when they go out, we'll be underway for 58 laps of the Albert Park Grand Prix circuit. And now they start to illuminate. 3, 4, 5, and go! Way at the front, go Yannick Bock and the Pescara ADG cars, but we've got Adam Maguire that's splitting them. He goes up to 3rd, almost touches the back of Jumanu Zapala's car, but they just about get away with it. Further back, it looks as if we're going to be free from the accident that we saw on Tuesday. Everyone has made it through turn 2 at least. Oh, and a big crash! Sorry, into...
Oh, no.
Is a pile-up. It's further back, so I don't think we're going to get a red flag this time, but there is a lot of cars and a lot of carnage strewn across the track. We've got an Adonis without a rear wing, Eris Masculi's off the road without a front wing, Jan Dragoon's involved. It looks like I spoke too soon. We have had a huge pile-up on the exit of turn 2, just as we saw on Tuesday, but this time we stay green.
Yeah, well, all it takes is for someone, I assume, to touch the grass or, put the throttle down on board with Eros Masculi. Maybe we're seeing what happens ahead. So, looks like he's gone... Oh, it's all kicked off in front of him. So, Masculi with nowhere to go. Pushed into the wall there by Panzer. Oh, dear, that's...
It started off around about 6th or 7th on the road. So, it started off relatively high up. We'll have to look a bit further... Oh, my goodness, Masculi with no steering whatsoever. But yeah, we'll have to look a bit further up to see who exactly triggered that. But at the end of the first lap, Yannick Bock leads from Jumanu Zapala and Adam Maguire. 3 drivers have pulled off and retired. Sorry. Ross, take over, sorry.
No problem. Yannick Bock leads. 3 drivers. Duval. Oh, dear. Liam Duval out. Masculi and Luke Maguire. So some big names going there. Debris still all over the track. Up to the exit of turn 3, but it is Bock that leads this race. Yannick Bock from Zapala, from Adam Maguire in P3. Leon Bock dropping down to P5. Quinte as well, dropping places. But Yannick Bock, pretty healthy lead, but yeah, big incident there. If you're just joining us, you missed quite a horrific accident. I assume that someone's just been squeezed into the wall. But Yannick Bock, looking like he's got away with that, and some big names as well being removed from the fight already. Jan Dragoon, Bianca Lilia in the pits, Mielnik in the pits. Oh, that is a big shame to see as Yannick Bock comes round into the back end of the circuit. And, looking very comfortable at the moment. Here's the German driver.
Only the top 20 completed that first lap without coming into the pits or retiring. So that was an 11-car shunt near the back of the grid there. Or 10-car shunt, because it wasn't including the 20th car, and still this car's coming into the pits. Right, here we go. So we're looking at
Oh no.
Who is that? Someone
got turned, yeah. Someone got turned, so they were going 4 wide down the straight, which is frankly a dumb idea anyway. Was it Thomas Harvey? I think I'm not entirely sure who got turned. Oh, there you see.
Wheels. Oh, great shot actually. So there was a touch of wheels.
Was that Stefan Rolt, I think it was, that touched in. So someone dived up the out. I think that's Rolt. Yeah, it is. So Stefan Rolt. Someone dived between Rolt and another car. Rolt either didn't see them coming or thought the gap was clear, moved across to the left, touched wheels, and you've essentially got this pinball reaction of everyone just piling into everyone. So Stefan Rolt there, that's just a racing incident. Through no fault of his own, Stefan Rolt has essentially caused a pile-up. I'd be surprised if he gets a penalty for that one, but, given the amount of cars involved, there's going to be a few unhappy drivers. And there you go. A few drivers with nowhere to go. Just not backing off either as well. At that point, if you're piling in at full pace, I've got no sympathy for you, unfortunately. You should be backing off for an incident like that. As Max Hammerlink passed in, here's on Alessandro Quinte, who's dropped down to 11th by the looks of things. So Quinte maybe with an incident coming into the penultimate corner. Does he just lock up? Maybe. Oh, yeah, Quinte, round he goes. Oh, and tags Leon Bock round as well. So Leon Bock. So Bock and Quinte. So Quinte locks up or gets it wrong coming into the penultimate corner. Cuts across the circuit, tries to catch it, and then slides into the path of Leon Bock. They've fallen down to a P11 and P13 respectively, promoting Williams and Stefan Rolt up to 4th and 5th where they were running. So disaster for one Bock, but the other Bock, Yannick, absolutely running away at the front at the moment. He's living his best life. He's got about 3/4 of a second the gap back to Zapala, and looking very comfortable out there at the moment. But look at that, with all those incidents on the first lap, Fidok, Mus and Fournier into the top 10 on those medium tyres.
Okay, Ross, there were actually two separate incidents on the run down to turn 3 on the first
really?
lap. I've had to look back at it myself. Stepkovsky, Roar, and Bianca Lilla were the one that we were focusing on up the front. But actually, that did not affect the accident that happened further back, because that all started earlier. That all started when Michi Hoyer and Luke Maguire squeezed Liam Duval. So they all came together, and that was what triggered out off the rest of the pack spinning. So that's how the first lap incident was all caused. Stefan Rohr got away with it, so he is still running in this race and still running in P5, whereas absolute carnage kicked off behind him. And the notable thing there is that a lot of those incidents, especially the one that happened further back in the pack, I think were completely racing incident there, because on the first lap of the race, it's so difficult to tell how many cars are alongside you. I mean, that's why in oval racing, where it matters even more, you have spotters to tell you, you're inside 3 wide or whatever. But on road course racing, it just doesn't happen that quickly. And I mean, it was a big one, but it was just a typical first lap accident, I'm afraid. Unfortunately, we do have a few more cars joining the retirement list now. We mentioned 3 at the end of the first lap, but Stepkovsky, Winnick, and Hamelink are now also out as a result of that accident damage. Only 24 cars remain, and here is Stefan Ruhl going for an overtake on Matthew Williams. So Stefan is up into 4th position now, as Matthew Williams kicked out the tail, and Stefan goes through.
Yeah, it looked like Stefan got the move down into turn 1. And then Williams trying to fight back, just getting a bit too keen on the exit of the corner. So roll up to P4. Of course, your reigning champion from 2021 here at the GPVWC Super League. Lap 5 of 58. And, well, yeah, shame to see the, two big incidents on the first lap. Again, no, it is lap 1. The rule book, it does kind of go out the window a little bit for a lot of people. It's the most dangerous time in the race, obviously, as you've just seen. There's so much going on, so many cars around you. And, when you're these guys, you're committed as you are, absolutely flying along. It really, really is tough out there on lap 1, even for the best of the best. Sometimes incidents happen. And that's what we've seen there. David Fidok, meanwhile, looking for a move on Canapino. Fidok on those medium compound tyres, unable to swing around the outside, but looking very, very tasty there at the moment. If those mediums are running well, and Fidok could be a force to reckon with late into the race. Of course, he's on the alternate strategy, and so far from what we've seen this year, the alternate strategy looks like it's the one to be on. Very much was so at Imola. Was decent for a lot of people in Bahrain as well. Of course, both Imola, the 1 stop was the strategy to be on in Bahrain. 2 stopping was the way to go. I'd assume it would be a 2 stop here in Albert Park as well, judging from the length of the race, what we've seen so far. But frankly, who really knows? A lot of drivers dropping down to the back. We've lost 6 cars now. As you said, of course, 10 cars being involved in those first incidents as well. So 4 cars left running out of those original 10. And they're well down the back. And yeah, they've got a lot of work to do if they want to have a decent result today.
DRS has been active for a couple of laps now. We have 3 DRS zones on this course. 2 of them activated by the same detection zone. That is the straight that you're about to see them go onto, the main straight. And then, of course, the straight between turns 2 and 3, meaning that if you get past someone with the DRS on the start-finish straight, then you still have DRS, which you can use to pull away from them in the second straight. Realistically, though, how it tends to work is you get closer and closer to the car in front of you with the DRS, then you try to stick within attacking range through the first couple of corners, which is much easier said than done due to the turbulent air and the difficult nature of the first couple of corners anyway. And then once you've done that, if you're still close enough, you can go for a move into turn 3. And here is the other DRS zone that you see. Germano Zappala does still have DRS from our race leader Yannick Buck, and Maguire still has DRS behind Germano. But that DRS zone is really not an overtaking opportunity. I wonder if maybe they intended it to be at first with the redesign of that corner, but I'm afraid they haven't made it anywhere near tight enough. Realistically, what that DRS zone does is just keep you close enough to then help you stay close enough in the first DRS zone. I have not explained that very well whatsoever, but anyway, basically, there's 3 DRS zones on the course, but there's only one where you can actually launch an overtaking opportunity, and that is the one that you're seeing right now with Matthew Williams and Thomas Harvey on his tail.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it's Albert Park's a very, very tricky circuit to overtake at. So a lot of things need to be considered. Racecraft not as important. It's just really about sticking with your opponents, getting them on the strategy front. That's kind of the how you get the moves done here. It's in the pit lane. Sometimes you do see moves done on pace. Again, the DRS down into turn 3. Very, very popular overtaking zone down there. Of course, you're running very fast into a tight third, second gear hairpin, essentially. So it's very popular overtaking zone, but it's typically, due to the difficult nature of following cars around here, it's more often than not you get your moves done during the pit windows. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm not entirely sure how long these soft tyres are going to run, as Jeffrey Fournier sticking a look up the inside of Matthias Moos and getting the move done. So a nice little move there by Jeffrey Fournier in the Scuderia Basilia car. He moves up to P9 with 50 laps remaining. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the pit windows are going to be. I'd assume, the soft tyres will be coming up to their pit window within a few laps' time. But I really don't know. I really don't know what the strategy is going to be. As a yes there from Caitlin.
The trouble is, a lot of the time, we find out about strategy or about kind of what we should be looking for through the Superlights race. And obviously, because we've had the wet Superlights race, it's actually pretty difficult to work out. Now, we can ask people, and people can say, yes, I expect that the pit window will be open from this lap to this lap or whatever. But a lot of the time, that's only on paper. As you see, Harvey Surrey getting closer to Williams and takes the advice on his rear wing, does send it, goes to the inside, and makes it stick well before the corner. Wow, that's not normally an overtaking opportunity there, but Williams had a very bad run, and he's had an even worse run out of the chicane, having been over the grass. So Thomas Harvey there gets up into 5th position in this race now. Well done, Thomas. But what I was saying is that, so on paper, the fastest way to complete the race in terms of your tyre strategy is usually quite different to what actually ends up being the fastest way. Because when you do it on paper, you completely miss all of the variables, such as other cars on the road, potential accidents, and other events such as weather or whatever. And as a result, you kind of have to just do a bit of guesswork. And also, it's mainly psychology. It's about kind of working out what the drivers and teams will be thinking will happen, even if it's not going to necessarily happen like that. Racing is a whole different kettle of fish, but anyway. Right, Yannick Buck still leads from Germano Zapala. The gap still just under a second as they enter DRS zones, which is crucial. Adam Maguire sticking with them, and then you have a few seconds back to Stefan Roll in 4th place. It's a bit of a gap there. David Fidok is the top driver on medium tyres. He is in 8th place at this point in time, and actually keeping up rather well with the chain of cars in front of him. Thomas Harvey, Matthew Williams and Augustin Canapino all together, and David Fidok benefiting from their DRS. There's a few cars further back, relatively stuck out of position. Quinte and Buck have had eventful starts, and then obviously everyone from Panzer back, Kato back, had to Dragoon back, Dragoon in P21. Everyone after that had to pit or retire at the end of the first lap of the race, due to those 2 pile-ups, realistically, that we saw down into P2, as we get an interruption from the GPVWC dog in the background there. I've heard some people saying that they refer to him as such in their friend groups, and I am delighted, but also very sorry. My apologies.
It's no worries, Caitlin. It's good to see that you've got some support from the animals in your household as well. That's more than I can say. Anyway, back to the action though. David Feidock still chasing down Canapino. Those medium tyres really starting to come into their own at the moment. Really starting to look quite tasty out there. So it's all essentially waiting for the soft rubber to essentially run out. So you make your moves if you want to on track. Again, those medium shed runners, they can go a lot longer on those tyres, the yellow sidewalled cars, than the red sidewalled ones. And as we're seeing here, David Feidock possessing a lot of pace, maybe trying to set a move up down into turn 3 here on board with the number 10 driver as he comes down. DRS in front as well for Canapino, so I don't think he's going to be quite close enough, unfortunately, as he slams on the anchors into the very, very tight turn 3. Again, one of the corners that has been widened for this year alongside this one as well, turn 5. So it's more of a psychological thing really, but you can take these corners a lot faster. There is Jannes Volburn into the pits, goes onto the hards. So Jannes Volburn in onto the hards. He was reasonably down the order anyway from what I was aware, but onto the hard tyres, the first of our soft running stops, I believe that is. So there we have it, some interesting strategies. So it looks like soft to hard could be the move to be on for the front runners. I'm unsure what the mediums are going to do. I'm unsure what those on the hards are going to do as well. There is Leon Bock in P12, of course. Yannick leading the race as it stands. And, Leon Bock doing exactly what he can, just trying to chase down Quinte after those two unfortunately got involved in that incident early on into the race. But, yeah, he's just, it's really about just running what you can, of course. Unfortunately, when you get caught in an incident, there's nothing you can do in those situations. You just kind of got to put the laps in, run what you can.
Sorry, rolled into the pits as well there. So one of the first front runners to pit, and he too goes on to the full hard set of tyres there, the full hard compound with the white walls, and exits the pits around P12. He's possibly, he's going to get out in front of Thomas Bock. There's actually a lapped car between them who was involved in the earlier accident, so that's kind of thrown me off a little, but that's how they stand. So Stefan Roll comes out of the pits P12, and we wait for the rest of the first few to come in. Now, the question is why? Why is he gone onto hards? I doubt he's intending to go the full way. I can't imagine that that's necessarily a particularly quick way of doing it. But is he trying to hold off for long enough to go back onto the softs? I'd be surprised actually, because a lot of the teams at the start seem to prefer the medium tyres, just from a general point of view. So anyway, we'll keep our eyes open for that. Adam Maguire into the pits from 3rd place, and if he goes onto the hards as well, then that's going to give me a little bit of a headache, because I've got to work out what they're doing. He's missed his box, he's had to reverse for it. That's going to cost him about a second or so, and might drop him off the back of that lead train, but he too goes on to the full hards. So we have a pretty confusing race ahead of us, I think, as we've got to figure out what strategy these drivers are actually attempting to go for.
Yeah, indeed. I think I saw Leon Bock diving in behind as well. Of course, he was involved in that incident early on, so a spin probably not helping his tyres. They would have been overheating. And, a bit flat spotted as well, I can imagine. There we see further back, further front, apologies, Jemana Zapala still sticking with Yannick Bock, but those two have bolted away. They've got 10 seconds back to Harvey in P3. So they're looking very comfortable out the front right now, very comfortable running their own pace. Zapala probably just waiting to see what Bock does. When does Bock come in? Does he stay out for longer than the Pescara driver? And, it's all kind of up in the air, really, as to who does what. I assume that Zapala's just planning to try and stick with Bock. And if you can't get him in the pits, then set up a move as they go onto their next set of tyres, be it medium or hards. So, on the fresh rubber, try and get it done. Florian Guy, meanwhile, trying to hold off Valeriano to the inside. Valeriano on those hards, Guy on the mediums in the Epic car. And they're also chasing down Philip Pushka as Thomas Harvey comes in from P3. On the track, it stops in his box. Looks like it's going to be a set of hards for Thomas Harvey. A few drivers coming in as well alongside him. Stefan Rolt there New fastest lap of the race, so 120.362. Of course, you know, that's absolutely smashing the lap record. Bear in mind it's a new track layout, so there isn't really a track record. So there we go. So looks like it's now is the time to come into the pits if you're on the softs. But it's what tyres do you go on to? Because seeing Harvey there, he's on the hards. Thomas Vack behind him has gone on to the mediums. So a big split strategy here. Looks like some slight debate.
Spin, sorry. Buck has been around at the exit of the weight chicane, and Szymon Zapala takes the lead. So it was actually on the entry. He's just slid all the way through the weight chicane. He got his wheels on the grass, and around the car went. And he's so lucky, actually, that he didn't hit anything and didn't come on straight into the path of Szymon Zapala, who pits. They will probably both pit this time around. They do. But what a mistake there from Yannick Buck. That's going to drop him behind Zapala and probably McIntyre in the grand scheme of things as well. Augustin Canapino comes in as well, so David Fiduk will lead the race. And on his medium compound tyre, he's on a different strategy to the rest of them. Zapala, Buck, McIntyre, Canapino. Last lap, of course, the other drivers who came in were Thomas Harvey and Alessandro Quinte was also in the pits behind him. Dan Brewer's been in a couple of laps ago. Here's a replay of what happened to Yannick Buck. Now watch where his tyres are, his right-hand tyres, as he enters the weight chicane. It's not quite flat out. There is a tiny little lift in race conditions. And when he lifts, he's on the grass, and around the tail of the car goes. He spins all the way through the weight chicane. Whoa, so nearly. I mean, that car was out of control, so it was just luck at that point that he didn't come on into the side of the other car that was going through there. That could have been a nasty movement for Szymon Zapala, and as a result, it was only a nasty movement for Yannick Buck.
Well, to be fair to Yannick Buck, that's probably the best outcome he could have hoped for in that situation. You know, spinning around a full 360 back onto the circuit. Now, he could have ended up in a wall, he could have ended up stuck in the gravel, he could have been facing the wrong way. So to be facing the right way on the racetrack, yeah, I mean, obviously not as ideal as not spinning at all and still having the net lead of the race. But as Fardok inherits the lead, he's obviously on those medium compound on the alternate strategy. Yeah, it's, you know, Bock, I think he can count his lucky stars there, that really wasn't as bad, you know, as it could have been. So fair play. Obviously, the racing gods maybe showing a bit of kindness after being cruel. As Yannick chasing down Stefan Roll at the moment. So he has actually lost a place in the pit stops after that spin. So that's important to note. Lap 17 of 58 here. Gonna have 40 laps remaining in a few laps' time. And yeah, now it's really, we're waiting for those front three. Farduk, Fournier, Moose. What do? They're on the medium tyres, of course, happened since the start. When do they have to come in? And when they do come in, what do they go on to? Because if they go onto the mediums again, you know, that is setting up a two-stopper. I'm presuming that everyone else is going soft, hard, soft. From what I can tell, I don't think those hards can quite make the end of the race. We'll have to wait and see. So it's all down to what the medium runners can do. Because if the mediums can probably do a one-stop onto the hards from this distance. So frankly, it's yeah, waiting for Farduk, waiting for Fournier, waiting for Moose to come in, and of course they've got that intra-medium battle as well of, you know, where do they go, who comes in when. Farduk and Fournier very, very close together, out on track at the moment. So it's yeah, it's all basically, you know, when does Farduk come in, when does Fournier come in, Moose as well, he's a bit further back, when does he come in? You know, and sacrifice the lead of the race, but maybe for the benefit of the strategy, as a, you know, Farduk having to go defensive there from Fournier. Yes, Caitlin.
So this is actually quite an important battle here. This is the top of the alternate strategy. Now, in terms of the other three, it's important to point out that Adam McGuire has jumped Szymon Zapala there. And I'm really sorry that I didn't pick that up at the time. I did see it, although I thought I'd already said something along those lines. Thanks to Ryan there for picking that up in the YouTube chat. But yes, Adam McGuire is ahead now of Szymon Zapala. It was, as Fournier goes to the outside of David Fiduk. They bang wheels into the weight chicane. And Fiduk gets the move, or gets to keep the position on the exit there. But, and he's going to give way. So Fiduk there maybe felt that he was to blame for that and gives Jeffrey Fournier the lead of the race. Big twitch, but I'm not entirely sure that he would have needed to give way if I mean, he probably just could have argued his case, but whatever the case, and he's coming into the pits now, so David Fidok comes in from second place. What I was going to say with regards to Adam Maguire jumping Szymon Zapala is, I think what I was confused about is that I'd already said that he was going to gain time against Yannick, who'd had the spin, and Yannick's now dropped behind Stefan Rohr as well, so quite a lot of time lost there for Yannick Bock. But yes, you're absolutely right. There has been a change between Zapala and Maguire, and they've now got Matthias Moos between them, because Adam Maguire has made the move in the opening point of the lap. Here's a replay. This will be Maguire's move on Moos. So this is for third on the road. Two very different strategies. Moos knows not to fight it. He knows that it wouldn't really benefit him at all. And through they go. Also, I've just been looking at Philip Pushkir getting passed by a couple of drivers in the lower part of the top 15 as well. But that's all been done cleanly. He is one of the drivers yet to stop. Tomasz Vok now being passed by David Fidok. Sorry, no. Being passed by one of the other cars in the race, one of the lapped cars, which is why he wasn't fighting it too hard. Here is Adam Maguire. 2 seconds is his gap to the lead. Here is Szymon Zapala. 2 seconds roughly is his gap to Maguire, and he passes Matthias Moos to get up into third place on the road. A move which isn't too crucial from a race positions point of view, but from a lost time point of view, Zapala needed to get past him relatively quickly. And again, Moos is doing a good job. He knows that he doesn't need to fight these cars that are coming through. He just has to run his own race and not lose too much time while giving way to them. 20 laps through this race now. Geoffrey Fournier leading by just under 2 seconds now from Adam Maguire. The gap coming down. Maguire is the fastest driver on track right now, has the fastest lap, and is catching Szymon Zapala 2 seconds back after having to pass Matthias Moos, as Maguire had to do a couple of laps ago. Moos is fourth, and out of the race has gone Manuel Biancalilla. That was 6 laps ago, so yes, I don't think we mentioned that one. He was running outside of the top 10 after the incidents in the early part of the race, and he has now decided to call it a day, I'm afraid to say. It's been a tough old season for him so far, and I was impressed by his qualifying pace today, because Manuel Biancalilla qualified inside the top 10, which is something he hadn't managed to do in the early part of the season. Matthias Moos comes into the pits now, and that puts Stefan Rohr up into 4th position, and Yannick Bock relatively high up the order as well. He's running P5, although we'll have to see where that is when it all sorts itself out. Tomasz Vok now on the back of Philip Pushkir, and Philip still out on his stint on those hard tyres. Here is the battle for the lead of the race as Geoffrey Fournier flies into the weight chicane and into the DRS zone now. Meanwhile, Dan Brewer, championship leader, pitting further down. And how depressing it must be for him to see his own name alongside P21 in the order. I think he may have been slightly involved in the incidents in the first couple of laps, but hasn't affected him too badly. He's just struggled for pace today. Fournier is in the pits now, so Adam Maguire takes the lead of the race, and the gap is right the way down, look! So Maguire, being held up by Fournier, has lost a whole second to Zapala, and Zapala is now within DRS range for the lead. It's Maguire first, Zapala second, and then a bit of a gap back to Stefan Rohr in 3rd position. Saw a brief yellow flag. I'm going back to see if I can check out the cause of that, but everyone that I know of seems to be okay. Fournier comes out P10, so Leon Bock there came out side by side with him and got him into turn 3. It's Leon Bock P9, and Jeffrey Fournier P10. The top 12 now on hard tyres, look. So Tomasz on that slightly altered strategy in P13. Quinte also P14. He started on the soft tyre, so it's not like he was on the alternate strategy to begin with. He's now going for the, I guess, later alternate strategy, the one that emerges midway through the race. And if we get another pit window, then some more strategy options may open up. I mean, surely we are going to get another pit window later on in this race. I feel like there's no way these drivers would have pitted that early to run all the way to the end on hard tyres. Michi Hoyer's had a shunt on the exit of the weight chicane. He's off the racing line, luckily, so should be avoided so long as he doesn't try to rejoin straight back into the road. And Michi Hoyer, I'm afraid, is out of the race. The driver who missed the first round due to COVID, and we're about to see what he did. He's going to lose control, and it's a typical weight chicane sort of accident, very much like what his teammate Robin Panzer did in qualifying. And that means that Michi is now out of this race, and we have 22 of the 30 drivers remaining, and we're not even halfway through yet. This is absolutely a race of attrition, and it's going to continue to be so as the concentration loss sets in towards the end and potential reliability issues start to rear their ugly heads. Now, as we wait for stuff to kick off between the top two, which it may do in the next couple of laps because they are getting a lot closer, I should give you a quick update on development. The development of the cars has not yet started this season. There have been some issues with it, but it is, I'm reliably informed, going to be up and running for the next round. So next round is going to be the first time we will see drivers going out in cars that are suited to them and that have been altered by their teams throughout the course of the year. And from then on, we should start to see a real narrative forming in the championship. It doesn't sound like a good thing when you say that the cars aren't going to be equal anymore, but really that is GPVWC's selling point. That's what makes us separate from a lot of other championships. The fact that we have a real team focus here, and teams can develop and race each other on not just performance on track, but performance behind the scenes throughout the course of the year. You don't really see that elsewhere, except maybe through setup sharing and altering and things like that. Adam Maguire and Jemani Zapala are the two that you're watching lapping the Albert Park circuit, separated by 0.7 of a second in most of the sectors recently. And Zapala's now in the window, in the bubble, where he can't really get that much closer without Maguire making a mistake. So that's Maguire's job. Do not make any mistakes. And Germano, mark my words, will not be able to get through. The dirty air, the turbulent air from the car in front is just too much. And even though he has DRS, it's acting more to just get him closer to Adam Maguire until he has to drop back again for the next few corners. With all that being said, it's absolutely not worth giving up hope on this race just yet. There is still plenty to change, especially when we start to get a second pit window going. Here's Philip Pushke, who's just lost a place to Alessandro Quinte for P12 in this race. Philip Pushke racing for Stax, yet to show us the form that he had before his hiatus, but he's still got time to learn. And here is the move down into turn 1. That's Alessandro Quinte taking 12th position away from Philip Pushke. Two drivers who are on alternate strategies in this race, but still needed to squabble for track position anyway. Here's Agustin Canapino, the Argentine superstar. The only driver, I mentioned this at the first round of this championship, but he's the only driver in this field to have a Wikipedia page to himself. Of course, Agustin, a Argentine super touring, I'm not sure exactly what the series is called, but is it TC2000? something like that. Super Turismo driver, and also a former Daytona 24 Hours driver as well. He's driven and completed the Daytona 24 Hours in Florida, and that's in real life. You know, a lot of these drivers have done races like that on in Simracing. But Augustin Canapino here has got the best of both worlds. He's quick in a sim, and he's pretty darn good in real life as well. And I'm pretty lucky as well to be able to drive some awesome machinery. Currently running P7. Further back, Jeffrey Fournier briefly led this race. He's now fighting with Leon Bock over 9th position. And if you're worried about missing anything in the lead scrap, don't be. I'm keeping an eye on that on my second monitor, and everything should be okay. Ross had to pop out for a brief break, but he is now back. Ross, you haven't missed that much. We had the drivers who came in, or the drivers who started the race on mediums have now been in for their pit stop, so we have a much more representative order on the grid than what we had before. And the leaders are getting close, but Zappala is now in that bubble where he can't really get any closer without Maguire making a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, I was half following along while I did have to pop out briefly on my phone. Apologies. Glad to be back though in the commentary box. Lap 27 of 58. Again, it's hit that phase in the race where, you know, you've got the medium guys. They've come into the pits on the hards. Right, so it looks like the guys who started on the mediums, they're on a one stopper. So it's, yeah, now we're in that awkward no man's land period of the race that always rocks up here at Albert Park. It's kind of just sitting there waiting for who does what next, essentially. Yeah, it's, you know, Jeffrey Fournier following at the moment in P10. You know, he's done a great job to, you know, be up in P10 after the pit box. Leon Bock as well, working his way back up to P9 as well. So great stuff after that early incident. But yeah, it's kind of just hold steady, see what you can do, and just kind of keep doing what you're doing, keep going as you are, and just, you know, wait to see what happens with the rest of the race. Hope the race essentially drops into your lap. You know, we've got it's going to be about, I think that's 30 laps left, I think, if my maths is correct. Yes,
Yes,
I'm really good at maths, as you can tell. But yeah, 30 laps left to go. The soft runners, I think, the guys who started on the softs anyway, I think they will have to come in. I think it will be a two-stopper. I'm not convinced the hards will last to the end for them. The guys who started on the mediums and have gone into the hards now, like Fournier, as we're seeing, I think he should be okay to go to the end on this set. But, you know, don't hold me accountable for that one. So it may well be, you know, it may well be that he does have to box. It may well be that he decides to box anyway if he's got, you know, space behind. Maybe he feels like he can push hard on a set of the soft compound or rubber. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see really as the race unfolds. He's chasing down Leon Bock at the moment. But yeah, it's we'll just kind of try and stick with the car in front and wait for the race to come to you really.
Now, one thing that I wanted to check was what's happened to Dan Brewer in this race so far. He's currently running in P20 and not making up much progress. I didn't think initially that he'd been involved in the opening lap incident too badly, although after looking back at it, yes, he was. He was hit from all sides and ended up coming into the pits on that occasion. And that's probably partly why he is so far down and partly the way he's struggling to come through the order. Although I think it might be some damage that's left over, some residual damage from that one. Although he wasn't really having much of a good weekend up until that point. I mean, the reason he was so far back in the pack in the first place is because he had no pace in qualifying. 16th place is no place for a driver of Dan Brewer's caliber to be starting. He came into this round in the championship leading by 18 points after just 2 rounds. To put that into perspective, a third place finish is worth 16 points. So he had more than a third place finisher's worth of points as a buffer over Yannick Bock in second place. And from a driver who looked as if he had a real chance of dominating the championship after the last couple of rounds, to see him all the way back in 20th place now is a little sad and also a little perplexing. And it's not like he goes badly at this track either. I remember one of the first times I ever saw him race was here in Super Cup a few years ago, and he was on the podium in that. So, yeah, strange stuff from Dan Brewer, I'm afraid to say.
Yeah. Yeah, strange. Can't really put it any other way, really, Caitlin. As we're following Matthew Williams at the moment in P6, under attack from Canapino. Canapino looking to the inside of turn 3. Gets the move, squeezes Williams out onto the grass. That was a bit naughty, but all's fair in the world of motor racing. And Frelik nearly looking for a way through Matthew Williams as well. So, yeah, Matthew Williams really losing a lot of time being on that grass, and that just shows how committed, how, on the ball you've got to be around here. He left the door open for Canapino. And Canapino has gone, thank you very much, see you later, squeezed him on the exit. Now he's dropped a position, nearly dropped 2 from the pressure from Frelik. And Frelik is smelling blood, I can tell. He's got the DRS down here. That'll set him up, with the DRS into turn 1, which should, in theory, mean a move down into turn 3. So we'll have to wait and see. Here's a replay of that incident on board with Canapino. Look there, you see Williams just leaves the door absolutely wide open. So it's fair game for Augustin Canapino. Oh wow, Canapino actually lost it. So it wasn't actually squeezing him out. He actually just lost the car mid-corner. Lost the rear, too much speed on the entry. So actually, that wasn't intentional, but it's worked to get the move done anyway. And, well, moves up. Meanwhile, Stefan Rolt, reigning champion in P3 in the Edge car. Currently running a very comfortable P3. Yannick Bock just behind him. Of course, he was leading the race early on. But Rolt seems to have got the jump on him in the pit stops. Maguire and Zapala as well ahead. So it's really, again, just waiting to see what's going to happen as the race unfolds. You're just kind of sitting around, waiting, as we could see there. That's Filip Puška coming into the pits. Looks like he's bolted on a set of softs. Hey? Okay, Filip Puška's coming and put on a set of soft tyres. Not to be rude to Filip Puška, there is no way he's going to the end of the race. That's Frelik looking to the outside this time, unable to make the move on Canapino. Canapino, I think, has let Williams back through because he's either made a mistake or let him through, because Williams, again, had very healthy lead. Frelik all over the back of the number 7 machine in front of him. As he's looking this way, he's looking that way, he's very, very close. They'll both get the DRS, but Frelik has that advantage of being a lot closer to the back of Canapino than Canapino is to the back of Williams. But he needs to be aware of Leon Bock behind him as well. And then behind him, Bock needs to be aware of Fournier. So you've got this DRS train going on. Let's see if Frelik can have an attempt on anything into turn 1. No, he's not going to be close enough into turn 1, but with a good exit and a good turn 2 as well, he can definitely be having a look into turn 3. Bounces off the opening curb. Now, DRS on the run down that second straight. In the usually you have in real life, you have the leaves all down the left-hand side of the track, which if you touch those can make your braking a bit hairy. No move this time for David Frelik. He's actually dropped away a little bit, but that just shows how dangerous it can be if you get close to the back of someone, because it was looking like for about half a lap that he might be going up into P7. That is Valeriano into the pits, and that is Valeriano putting on a set of the medium tyres. I'm not sure they'll be able to go to the end, but we'll have to wait and see. So again, people on the alternate strategy, on different alternate strategy. We've got about 5-6 different strategies going on here, today here, it would seem. Boxing very weird times in the race. I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen, to be honest, as it unfolds. It may very well be like Imola, where we're convinced that someone is going to win until the last 5 laps, when suddenly, oh, hang on, they're in a better position on better tyres, and looking like they might be taking the victory.
I mean, if that's going to happen with anyone today, it's likely to be David Frelik, because David's been the top driver on the alternate strategy pretty much all the way through the day. Leon Bock, though, trying to put his name into the equation here, coming in from P9 and drives slowly through the pit lane. There's actually talks that the pit lane speed limit is going to be increased for this year. It's currently 60 kilometers per hour, and it's going to be increased to 80 if that goes through. I believe in the game, it is 80, so it's 80 already. So obviously it's been preemptively changed in the game, even though... What's happened here? So...
Yeah, is Zapala off?
Yes, so Zapala there is in the trees somehow. I think that may have just been the camera angle, but he has hit the wall. So Zapala on the entry. Whoa, he's going way far. That looks a lot like what happened to Hygo Poom.
That looks like a brake failure to me.
It's a something failure. No, he's driving a weird angle, even coming into the
brake
corner.
failure. Look at it. Look at the bottom right, stabbing on and off the brakes. That's a hardware problem there for Szymon Zapala. Yeah, that's a brake failure. He's gone about half brakes on the way, and he was jabbing them on and off on the run into the corner. Yeah, that's a hardware failure, unfortunately.
He was on a really weird line already. I'm wondering whether something else happened there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever the case, I'm afraid that is a lot of position, and he's out of the race. Yes, so Szymon Zapala becomes another retirement, and he was set to challenge Adam Maguire all the way in the race. Adam Maguire now leads this race by almost 6 seconds over Stefan Rohr, and that is a bit of a sour taste left over the lead battle of this Grand Prix. Szymon Zapala definitely deserved to have to at least have a chance of winning this race. It's been a fantastic performance, and I'm afraid he is now not even going to finish. So the race of attrition continues. We have just 21 cars remaining in this race now. David Yunt, the last of those. 19 drivers on the lead lap. Dan Brewer, the last of those, although he's about to gain a place. Janus Volburn coming out of the pits. And what a disappointment for Szymon Zapala, the winner of the 2020 Brazilian Grand Prix, if I remember correctly.
I think so. I think might get someone else to check the results on that one. I'm probably not the most reliable person to ask. My memory is really not that good. But yeah, I think he was. But yeah, big shame. Unfortunately, that's the Simracing gods giveth and the Simracing gods taketh away. That's a real shame. Just a reliability issue in the form of a hardware failure on his Simrig coming into play there. Well, that's what I believe anyway. Again, yes. Looked like a weird line coming in, but to me that just looks like a brake pedal failure of some sort. Leon Bock there, fastest lap of 1:19.460, very quick.
Michele D'Alessandro, who I believe works with the Pescara team, saying his monitor switched off. That, of course, is an unconfirmed report. It doesn't come from Szymon himself, but it does come from someone who I think might know that sort of thing, and I wouldn't be surprised. That would be a very similar thing to what happened to Hygo Poom the other day, where he was running second. Again, it was second place. We've got a curse on second place runners in GPVWC this week. But yeah, so Hygo was running second, and then just seemed to just go straight on and hit the wall, just not even turning or anything. But he still had control of the car. It's just that there was some sort of failure on his system, which meant that, he couldn't control the car. Whatever the case, that means that Adam Maguire now leads, followed by Stefan Rohr, and Yannick Bock is back up into third position and running very, very close now with Stefan Rohr, who was ahead of him before his spin earlier on, and may feel that he deserves to be ahead of him once again. Only time will tell whether he'll actually be able to take that. Thomas Harvey is fourth, and Matthew Williams is fifth place. We're just over the halfway point in this race now, and with still a bit of time remaining, and probably another pit stop for quite a few of these drivers, if not all of them. We've definitely still got some intrigue left in this race, although unfortunately that takes some of it out as Canapino goes defensive from Williams. This is Williams trying to fend off Canapino here. So Williams running P5, Canapino to the outside with the DRS, and he sweeps through. So Canapino, P5 there for Adonis.
Yeah, great stuff there for Augustin Canapino. He's been putting in a really, really solid performance today, both in qualifying and the race. So potentially one to watch as we come into the back end of the Grand Prix tonight. Of course, lap 37 of 58 here in the third round of the GPVWC Super League Championship. Of course, if you're just joining us, hello and welcome. You've missed a pretty hectic event so far. If you've been watching all along, thank you for your support. Of course, keep liking, sharing, subscribing, and all of that if you haven't already. It's really appreciated. And of course, keep commenting and tweeting with the hashtags GPVWC, hashtag Super League as well. Caitlin, as always, keeping an eye on everything that is being said. In that way that she is so fantastic in doing so, because it saves me from doing it as well. Alessandro Quinte into the pits, comes out in P11 on the medium compounded tyres. He had already stopped, I believe. So Quinte very much looks like a two-stopper there for the guys who started on the softs. Jeffrey Fournier, look at that, pulling to the outside. This isn't going to work, surely side by side. My goodness me, side by side.
Great move.
Jeffrey Fournier. That was brilliant, but it's not over yet because Williams trying to fight back, going this way and that way. A slow-moving car on the inside. Fournier manages to hold on. P6. Brilliant from Fournier.
Williams' car has looked super slow all day in a straight line. It almost looks... I mean, look how far Fournier comes back... how far back Fournier comes from here. He is so much faster. Whoa, has to decide. That is a last-minute decision there. That is impulse driving from Jeffrey Fournier, and it worked so well for him. It almost looks as if Williams is just giving these places up. I've seen it several times over the course of the day. And if it happens again, I'll definitely look at his inputs. Look, it's going to happen again, because David Fidok is going to take a look to the inside here, and isn't quite able to make it. But yeah, Williams struggling in a straight line here. Car's absolutely streaming past him. Fournier up to P5. Canapino is now up into P4, and that's because Stefan Rohl's been into the pits. So Stefan pits and possibly kicks off the second pit window.
Yep, so as we suspected, a two-stopper for the drivers on that soft combat tire. Fidok as well, now having to defend from Williams. So Williams, yeah, looking very quick, then not quick. I'm not quite sure what's going on with Williams, to be honest. He's either flying along or really struggling, and it seems to be flipping each lap. I'm really not sure, but Fidok defending, Williams trying to pull a similar move to what was just pulled on him a few laps ago, with 20 laps left on the clock in the top left. And yeah, both in. So here we go. Both on those hard compounded tyres. Both of them started on the medium. So even for the medium shod runners, it's going to be a two-stopper. So, who knows? I have no idea. Both on the hards again, so definitely a two-stopper at Albert Park. Oh, look at that. Williams got a slightly better getaway from the pit as well, but Fidok going to keep him behind. So there we go. Almost had a battle of the pit crews. And actually, I say that Williams is back on the medium tyre. So Williams has gone medium. Fidok's on the hard. So of course, early on into this stint, Williams is going to have the pace.
I do think you can definitely go to the end on mediums from here. I think that Fidok may have just been doing that for safety there, going on to the hards. Or it may be that a harder compound is actually more desirable today, because obviously drivers were very reluctant to start the race on softs, possibly due to overheating, possibly due to tyre wear. Whatever the case, Williams now the top driver on anything other than the hard tyre in this race. 18 laps remaining now. I'm so impressed by Agustin Canapino today. This is a rejuvenated Agustin Canapino. We all know that he has it inside of him. He's not a superstar in Argentina for no reason. But he's had a very interesting Super League career. It seems that he's always been a part of Super League, but he keeps kind of dropping in and out. You know, dropping out and then just popping up again every few years. Started off his career way back in 2006, then disappeared and came back in 2010. Got his first podium actually right here at the Australian Grand Prix. Dropped out again and wasn't seen again until 2014, so that's 2 4-year gaps straight away. Got his first and so far only victory in 2015 at the Spanish Grand Prix after yet another Australian Grand Prix podium, so obviously he goes well here. His last podium finish was in 2016, and then he took yet another of his trademark 4-year breaks, coming back in 2020, missed 2021, he's now back for 2022, and if he was to score a podium today, which is still a possibility, then it would be his first in over 5 years, which would be quite something, Ross.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, any podium in GPVWC is a fantastic achievement, but to have one after such a long break must feel pretty special. I mean, even these guys out there, don't get me wrong, there's 30 drivers out there on the grid. I mean, there's 21 drivers left, but at the start of the race there was 30 drivers, all right, and every single one of them is a fantastic sim racer. These guys are the best of the best in our Factor 2. They are the best of the best in single-seaters on a virtual racetrack. But then again, even amongst the best, you've got to have a best and the worst. There's Frelik there, new fastest lap of 1:19.057. So on those hard tyres, pushing very hard to stay ahead of Williams. So even if you're in this top, this 30, you are very, very lucky. You're very, very privileged. And of course, you're very, very good as well. But at the same time, within said 30, there is obviously those who are cut above and beyond. And there are those who, regular and consistent podium finishers, and those who are, aren't always there and challenging. And 5 years is a big gap. And, he's obviously got to be trying hard. And, the amount of effort that these guys put in as well. We're talking hours of practice before each event. Whole, nights dedicated just to lapping hundreds and hundreds of laps just to the same track, just being put in to put yourself on the same level. When you try that hard and you're not getting podiums each week, sometimes, you're down the back. It does, it has got a sting. Even to know you're amongst, 30 of the best, to know that, you're not the best of said best, it's got to hurt. So to be back on the podium after such a long period of time, that's got to be a really special feeling.
Well, I was speaking rather prematurely there. He's into the pits now and will come out about 8th. I have a feeling he's going to be about net 5th. I think he's definitely still got a real chance of a top 5 finish. And what I meant to suggest is not that he was on course for a podium finish, but that he has a sniff of it as Leon Bott goes down the inside of Matthias Moos and makes the move stick there for 6th position. Nicely done. Leon can also sniff, maybe not a podium, but definitely still a top 5 if things happen in front of him and if Leon is perfect from here on in. Leon there with what looks almost like a Fernando Alonso tribute helmet, just with a German flag where the Spanish flag would usually be. But Leon here running in 6th place at this point in the race. Now, of course, one thing we have to keep in mind is that there's no guarantee that any of these drivers who haven't yet stopped for a second time are going to stop for a second time. We started off the season assuming that we just knew what the strategies were going to be when the race started, but the trouble is that a lot of these drivers keep things up their sleeve. A lot of these drivers see other drivers going for the conventional strategy and thinking, well, if I do the same thing, then the best I can do is be as good as them. If I want to be better, why not try to bring something else into the mix, bring another trick out from under my sleeve. That's what happened in San Marino with all of those late revelations of drivers staying out and just not pitting. As Fournier is about to get past Harvey there, streaks past him in a straight line. Harvey made that very easy for him. It looked as if he knew full well that he was coming. But anyway, and we saw that at Bahrain as well with Dan Brewer's late charge after his relatively late pit stop and his taking the lead near the end of the race. So it's definitely not as straightforward as it may look, but I am still expecting everyone down to, the top 7, I'm expecting all of those to come in at least once more now.
Yeah, we've got, 14, 15 laps left of this race? So we'll have to wait and see. But, yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you on that one, Caitlin. I think we are going to be seeing a whole flurry of activity, maybe back onto the soft compound once again, in the dying stages. And then it's really who comes out on top. Maguire, Bock, Fournier, Harvey, Rolt, Bock again. That's Leon, that is, in P6 Moose, Canapino. These guys, in the top 8, even down to Williams in the top 10, Quinte. There's some great drivers up there who really all could be with a shout as the last pit stops unfold, if they do unfold as we predict. So, it's now you know, Frelik, obviously he's coming a lot earlier, so he's got the advantage of not needing another stop. Yeah, well, going to be interesting, I'll say that much. But, yeah, I think, you know, we could be seeing a few drivers moving their way up and could be seeing a very, very tight finish here. David Frelik, I think, could be in that fight for the win, if not the podium. You know, he's been looking pacey all day.
I don't quite know about that because, I mean, so Frelik and Canapino are in a good position here, but probably just for the fight for the top 5, as we're about to see Canapino to the outside of Matthias Moose, and he goes through with the DRS. Matthias did not get a good run out of that weight chicane there. And I'm seeing, this is interesting, in this race I'm seeing an awful lot of after you, you know, as drivers, they just seem to not really fight. But I mean, even, oh, sorry, I'm going to cut away from that because look at David Frelik coming through as well and goes up into 8th position. Now, he knows that his main challenger in this race is Augustin Canapino. Those two are probably fighting for a top 5 finish. Now, the reason, Matthew Williams there passing Matthias Moose as well, the reason I don't think that they're in contention to win this race is because they just have so much of a gap to the leaders. Yes, the leaders still need to pit, but the gap right now is about 35 seconds, and I'm not entirely sure how long it takes to make a full pit stop here, but I can tell you that it is not 35 seconds. So Adam Maguire is still going to come up in the lead of this race. It's more a matter of, do any of the other front runners risk trying to go right the way to the end on the hard tyres? At this point, it's becoming increasingly likely that some of them actually will try that in order to get the upper hand over their opponents in the late stages. And the lap times right now actually are a little bit ominous because they are still not that far off what they have been doing at the quickest points in this race. So it's to be honest, it's starting to look more like Canapino and Frelik and some of the others may have actually made a bit of a mistake with their strategies right now. I'm still speaking way too early. We need to wait till at least, let's say 2 more laps. Give it 2 more laps, and then see what happens. Rural and Buck have also been in for 2 stops, haven't they? Sorry, I missed that. So Rural actually is in quite a good position here. Keep your eye on Stefan Rural.
Yeah, Rolt looking very tasty. I mean, he's been quick as well. I mean, of course, he's reigning champion. We know he's fast, but he's been, you know, quiet but quick out there. You know, we've talked a lot about him, but he's not really been in a position to do much until now. And of course, it doesn't really matter where you are until after the checkered flag, does it? So you can have the most average race of your life and come home the winner. You can have the most, you know, the best race of your life, and you know it ends up not going your way. So Stefan Rolt, keep an eye on your reigning champion. That'll be interesting to see. And you know, David Frelik, yeah, he's probably a bit too far back to challenge, but you know, optimism is king here, I suppose, isn't it? Rolt there crosses the line, starts his 47th lap. So yeah, I think he could be in a very good position. You know, again, it's down to that question of, you know, do the front runners, do they have to stop again? You know, are they going to try and squeeze the life out of those tyres? You know, they've been on them a long time. But, you know, it's not uncommon that you see drivers just, you know, desperately trying to cling on, you know, in the dying phase of the race. And it may well be that, you know, you might lose a place or two, but you end up in a better position than where you would be if you took the pit stop. Because it's starting to get to that stage now where it might be too late to have a pit stop for some of these guys. You know, Maguire especially up the front, if he wants to box, he needs to box sooner rather than later, because otherwise he's not going to have the time to come back on that fresh rubber. So if we are going to be seeing stops too, you know, it needs to be within the next, you know, 3-4 laps realistically. Pushka there, fastest lap of the race at 118.279. He's on the softs and has been on the softs for quite a while as well. So that's interesting to see. He's currently running near the back, unless he's stopped again and I haven't noticed. But yeah, that's interesting to see. But yeah, Maguire, Bock, I think those two, if they are going to stop, need to stop very soon. Fournier, Harvey, you know, we'll have to wait and see. I'm not sure if they'd be willing to stop just yet. I think they'd wait and see what happens with the guys in front. If the guys in front of Box, I don't think they will. unless Harvey loses out to Rolt here, in which case he might come in anyway because Rolt is closing. But we'll have to wait and see. And Rolt, of course, I think he's going to go to the end. So my eyes are on Maguire and Yannick Bock. What are they going to do? Are they going to box? Because I think they will. And if they do box, it needs to be soon.
It's too late, Ross. Surely it's. I mean, we've got 10 laps left in this race. If you come in now, you're going to be kicking yourself, thinking, why didn't I come in, a couple of laps sooner? I could have had so much more time on those fresh tires. I think at this point, it's pretty certain that they are going to the end. Now, this is what I was saying earlier on in the race about how when everyone started to come in for the hard tires earlier on, my brain just kind of went, 404 error does not compute, because it didn't really make sense to me. I was always told, and I'm being proven wrong this season of Super League, but I was always told that, for the most part, apart from the mandatory kind of short stint you have to do on on a harder set of tires, you want to be on the softer set of tires for as long as you possibly can, just as much of the race as you possibly can. And this year, that's obviously not been the case. The drivers actually came in very, very early, as early as they could, within a realistic time frame, to get off those soft tires and go onto the hard tires. It's been a much more kind of conservative method of driving, and we haven't really seen this for a long, long time in Super League. Last year this race would definitely have been a two-stopper, and I'm pretty sure it was a two-stopper for the race winners. Yeah, it really startled me earlier on when I saw everyone coming in early and putting on the hards. It didn't make sense. If you come in that early, usually that means you're going to put on mediums and go for a two-stopper, but that's not what they did. It was honestly bizarre, but it appears to be working.
Yeah, but it's been a bit of a crazy race on the strategy front, hasn't it? I don't think anyone's really sure what's going on, not even the drivers and the team bosses and engineers and the like. Well, we're just going to have to wait and see how it all unfolds. 8 laps left, and I think you're all right. I think Maguire and Bock are going to try and stick it out to the end, as that is Stefan Rolt for P4, and that is Stefan Rolt through to P4 as Harvey gets a huge slide on the exit of the corner as well. And, well, that's about it, really, isn't it? Through goes Rolt with a lot of pace on board. And now it's about how well can Maguire and Bock and Fournier hold on to those tyres, because Rolt is flying. Do the tyres drop off? I mean, we saw it Imola, the one-stopper. We all didn't think it was going to work. Liam Duvall won that race on a one-stop. Maguire, Bock, Fournier, again, one-stop, but it's been a long race. It's a hard circuit on the tyre wear. And they didn't start, bar from Fournier, on the alternate strategy. They've been on the hards from essentially, lap 12, lap 13. So, can they make the tyres last? Do they drop off? And if they do drop off, is Stefan Rolt far away enough to, stop the risk of losing places? Right now, I honestly have no idea. I mean, my heart says put your money on Rolt. My brain says, let's just wait and see what happens. So, honestly, this could be any one of the top 4 winning this race.
Well, Thomas Harvey is now well and truly out of this fight. Over the last few laps, the top 4, they've all had lap times within the 119s and 120s. Harvey's last few laps have been in the 121s, so Harvey has not been keeping his tyres at the same sort of performance window as the others, the top 4. But yeah, it confuses me how good those tyres actually still are. These drivers have run a metronomic race after the first few laps. They put on those hard tyres, and since then they've been in the 119s and 120s pretty much every single lap of the race, except when they've had to... I mean, even when they've passed back markers, they haven't lost a lot whatsoever. So it looks to me as if they knew what they were supposed to be doing. They understood the assignment. They came into the race and just executed their plan. Adam Maguire obviously has done it the best, mainly because he has been the fastest in general. Yannick Bock probably would have I don't know about won the race, because he would have still had to fend off Adam Maguire, who's been very, very good, but probably would have led plenty more of this race and potentially won it if he hadn't had that spin earlier on. Geoffrey Fournier had to come from further back. He started on an alternate strategy, started on the medium compound tyres, and has made up a lot of ground in this race. He's been doing an excellent job. If you take the race alone and ignore qualifying, Fournier may actually be the driver of the day. Stefan Roth running P4, Thomas Harvey running P5. Harvey may come under pressure from Leon Bock towards the end of this race, because Bock is quite a lot quicker at this point in the race. But what surprises me is that so many drivers have gone for that same strategy, which in my mind is not the... I mean, it may be the optimum strategy, but it's not the strategy that would jump out to me, you know? If I was to go and start practicing to do a Super League race at this circuit, my first few race stints would probably be done on a completely different strategy. It would probably be done, you know, soft, medium, or maybe, you know, medium and then hard or whatever. But I don't think I'd even consider soft hard. So the fact that they've considered it in the first place shows that they've really done their research and, you know, done more than just a one race stint in practice for this.
I mean, yeah, as I said earlier, you know, hundreds and hundreds of laps going into the practice for all these events. So, but yeah, you know, clearly some big thought going into this. I mean, Rolt is gaining, but as it stands, it's not enough. You know, those tyres in front need to hit a cliff and fast if Rolt wants to win this. They might be holding on, you know. Bock he's fluctuating as the gap between Maguire. It was 4 seconds, and it was 5 seconds. Now it's back down to 4 again. So who really knows? You know, Maguire looking pretty comfortable out the front there, but honestly, it's still hard to tell. I still don't know if those tyres are going to hold on. I mean, again, you know, there's shades of Imola here. You know, when we saw Liam Duval on that massive onslaught, but Liam Duval, his box was, you know, he did less laps on those hards than these guys have done here. You know, if they managed to make it 10, first of all, you know, fair play for making it work. Second of all, shout out Geoffrey Fournier for gaining something like 15, 16 places. Oh no, it's 14, sorry, according to the timing screen. But that's a massive performance, that is, from Fournier if he manages to get onto the podium there. So kudos to him. But, you know, lap 54, we've got 5 laps remaining of this race. I genuinely am not sure if they're going to hold on or not, because as it stands, I just don't know if they're able to go the distance. You know, I'm starting to think they're surely going to hit a cliff at some point. But, you know, Rolt, again, still not close, you know, gaining enough to really be causing any trouble. That being said, though, Yannick Bock could be causing trouble for Maguire, because he's now sneaked within 4... Well, as I say, that now goes above 4 seconds again. But he did just sneak within 4 seconds last time. So Maguire may be starting to hit a cliff that Bock hasn't quite got yet, so it could be getting close towards the end of this race, Caitlin.
Yeah, and Fournier is easily the quickest of this bunch right now. There's Robin Panter, the biggest gainer of this race. He's up 15 positions from his starting place due to his crash in qualifying, and then avoiding the crash at the start of the race, ironically. That's one of the main reasons that Robin is so far up, although he's been doing a good job there, and he's going to come away with 2 points. Leon Bock gaining on Thomas Harvey. Thomas's tyres have been really dropping over the course of this stint, and he runs wide, goes through the grass, and Leon is not just going to have the inside line, but the DRS as well. And he goes through, and so does Augustin Canapino. He backs out of it. Oh, and a big twitch, and he will go through. So Thomas Harvey loses out, and next up, David Feidock. It's roll up, get your free position here, as Thomas Harvey drops like a stone, and will be wishing that he reconsidered going to the end of the race on those tyres. It's worked for some people, but you did need to keep your tyres in check, and Thomas Harvey clearly has not done it as well as the top 3 have. And a yellow flag there. Did Thomas... Oh, it's Jan Dragoon. So Jan Dragoon has hit the wall. He's lost his front and rear. Meanwhile, Matthew Williams has just got past Thomas Harvey for P8, but we're going to see a replay of what just happened to Jan Dragoon. There was a big collision there, and slam, bang, into the wall. And the collision was with another driver. Let me find out who that was quickly.
It was definitely another driver, as you can tell. Oh, yeah, Yanis Volburn. That is, I've just seen the number. That's Yanis Volburn, and that is into the wall. Oh, what a shame for Jan Dragoon there. And again, I mean, we've seen moves being made through the left, right there that have worked, and that's one that hasn't worked, unfortunately. And, well, that's what happens if you get it wrong. Here's Matthew Williams as well. What's happened here? Coming in.
Actually, so look how far back he is here from from the battle up ahead of him, from Thomas Harvey in particular. It's hard to believe that a few corners later he would be past him, and that's why. So Harvey's been off the road, and Matthew Williams, who was a long way back, is now ahead of him. Anyway, we're on lap 56 out of 58. As you see the battle once again. The gap for the lead has come down slightly. It's now 3.8 seconds. It's not coming down anywhere near quick enough, but Adam Maguire still needs to be careful. Leads this race. Yannick Bock is second, but Yannick is being caught pretty quickly here by Geoffrey Fournier. When I said he was the fastest of this bunch, I should really have pointed out that he's actually running about a second a lap quicker. Actually, not quite that. He's running about 7 or 8 tenths per second. Oh, sorry, a lap quicker than Yannick Bock at this point in time. And he's going to be on him in the last lap, isn't he? So that's definitely one to keep an eye out on. Also, Augustin Canapino on the back of Leon Bock towards the end of this race as well. Still some places that could change here. Now, I love the way that even though this has been a race of attrition, and we've had 11 retirements now with the addition of Jan Dragoon, we still have as many drivers on track as there will be at the start of the Grand Prix next week. That is, that's quite something that just shows you how impressive our grid size is here at GPVWC.
I mean, yeah, it is an impressive grid size. I mean, to be fair, I can't think of many single-seater series on the planet in the real world that could fill out 30 cars due to the costs of running a single-seater, especially one that is this fast, this high up. Maybe in some junior series, but not at the top level. I mean, in Formula 1, I think the regulations is a maximum of 26 before we actually have to have pre-qualifying for the event. But yeah, well, 20 cars left on the grid. Penultimate lap of the race, and as it stands, Bock is closing on Maguire. And if he wants to get a move done, he's going to have to speed up because Maguire's holding on. Roll still too far back. Fournier's been gaining there as well, and that was an ult from Caitlin, so something's clearly happened.
Yeah, I've just taken a look at the time here. Certainly, Bock's gaining about a tenth of a second per sector now. He's like over that. Maguire's really dropping here. I wonder, has Maguire suddenly realised that he maybe didn't have enough fuel to finish the race? Is he now having to short shift to finish it, maybe? Augustin Canapino, sorry, is now under attack from David Fidok for P6. So there he goes. But yeah, that last lap from Maguire was atrocious. Let's take a look at it. 121.5. Now, what was Yannick Bock's last lap? 122. So 1.3 seconds faster than Adam Maguire there. And now as they go into the last lap, the gap is 1.3. So if it happens again, they're going to cross the line side by side. What's up with Adam Maguire here? Have his tyres finally given up the ghost?
I think about Adam Maguire may have hit the cliff here.
Luckily gets sixth on the last lap of the race. Slight touch, but he makes it stick. So Fidok P6 now. I still think it's too little too late from Yannick Bock, unless it is that Maguire is short shifting to conserve fuel, because that's even more critical. But Maguire...
That's Fournier on Bock as well, so Maguire might get away with it, because Bock's going to have to defend from Fournier into the final few corners.
And he goes for it, and he backs out. He has to. There was no room. So Bock does manage to hold a second position. Goodness, we were so focused on Bock versus Maguire that Fournier came out of nowhere. But look at Adam Maguire. He got his first victory at this circuit 2 years ago. And 2 years later, he's going to get his first victory of 2022 and his first for Vodball. Adam Maguire wins at Australia. Yannick Bock is second, just from Geoffrey Fournier. Stefan Ruhl will be P4. Leon Bock will be P5. And then it's David Fidok, Augustin Canapino, Matthew Williams, Thomas Harvey, Matthias Moos, Alessandro Quinte, Thomas Bock, Daniel Brewer, Robin Panzer, and Philip Pushke, the points finishers. Now here is a replay of the move that David Fidok made on the last lap of the race on Augustin Canapino. He went to the outside. Now watch as they make a tiny little bit of contact there, right there. And he makes the corner nonetheless, and gets up into 6th position. Not a bad result there for David Vidocq. But our winner is Adam Maguire. A relatively tense finish there at the end after what had been a quite straightforward race for Adam, all things considered. He started 4th on the grid, so definitely still had to fight for it, but he did it well, and he's won the Australian Grand Prix of GPVWC Super League.
Well, Caitlin, once again, looks like me and you have no idea how strategy works, because once again, we've been proven wrong. And the one stop, the strategy to be on a great performance by Adam Maguire. Bock as well in second, unfortunately dropping a position from that pole position. Fournier, though, has got to get a shout out. 14 places gained up to P3. Brilliant from him. Stefan Rolt, too little too late in P4. Then it's Leon Bock and David Vidocq, 5 and 6. Vidocq again with that late moves. Canapino, Williams, Thomas Harvey and Matthias Moose again. Big gainer, making up your top 10. They're followed by Alessandro Quinte, Thomas Vach, Daniel Brewer, Robin Pansar, Philip Pushka, Florian Guy, Jan Katau, Giordano Valeriano, Janis Volburn, and then David Young finished the lap down. And then, well, look at this next page. All gone. Jan Dragoon, Zapala, Michi Hoyer, Bianca Lilla, Hammerlink, Milnik, Stepkowski, Deval, Maskili, and Luke Maguire. This was very much a race of attrition, especially after that first lap. And what a shame for all of those guys. But what a race we've had there. Again, the one stop, the strategy to be on, that could be a theme to watch for this season.
Definitely. I mean, so I do just quickly in my own defense. I do know how strategy worked. I saw it coming. It's just I was confused first in the first pit window, because you don't normally see drivers pitting early and going onto the hard tires. After that, it was relatively straightforward. Okay, there was still a question mark as to whether they were going to stop again or not. But yeah, the fact is, I'm not sure that anyone really could have called that race with the knowledge that we had going into it. Meanwhile, discussion in the YouTube chat going on about Jeffrey Fournier's fantastic podium performance, and absolutely right. I mean, he started P17 on the grid. Ryan saying, imagine if he started P11. Well, ironically, we don't know that he would have made it through the first lap if he'd started P11, because that is around the point where the second part of the accident started. Instead, he was able to slow the car down and get it through without getting caught up in all of the chaos. We also had Lauren Kearsmaker saying that Stefan Roth had some quite bad suspension damage, some quite bad steering after the first lap incident, which forced him into a two-stop. That does make sense. Although, actually, I feel like that was probably the best strategy for Stefan, considering the battles and circumstances he found himself in throughout the course of the race. Godona as well saying the first point for Stax. Oh, congratulations to the Stax team there. Very, very good. Philip Pushke there bringing them that in P15. Right. We're just waiting now for drivers to start coming in to the interview room. But Russ, that was quite a race there.
It certainly was, and well, as you can see, 2 weeks' time, same place, Portuguese Grand Prix. We're heading to Portimao, so be there or be square again. Portimao, track that always delivers in Simracing. And well, looks like we have an interview with our race winner lined up.
Bring him in, shall we? Adam Maguire. Adam, are you there?
Hello. Hi.
Jolly good. So, Adam, 2 years ago, you got your first victory at this track, and now you've got your first victory for Vodbull as well, and your first of 2022. How are you feeling right now?
Glad to finally get some points on the board, you know. Race 1 obviously didn't go to plan, and I missed round 2, so this was a win or nothing here, and I love Australia, and the changes were nice to the track. But it was a pretty boring race, I guess, with all the carnage behind me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. A lot of drivers did just seem to jump out of your way today. But even so, I mean, towards the end of the race, you had drivers catching you, and you started to think about those very, very old hard tyres by that point. Was that why you were being caught towards the end of the race? Was it your tyres going off?
Yeah, I think in hindsight we pit a bit too early for the hards. It was always going to be one stop, but I think lap 12 or 13 or whatever lap I pitted on was maybe 2 or 3 laps too short. In the race sims it was like lap 15 or 16, but I saw Stefan pitted, and I know the undercut is so powerful, so I wanted track position, and yeah, it just worked out. Towards the end, my tires were pretty much gone. I think I had one more lap, and Bach probably would have had me.
Now that's 2 wins for 2 drivers for the Vodball team now. What do you guys do differently to the rest of the field? Why are you guys so good?
I don't know. It's just I can't say we did a lot of practice because we both started practicing yesterday for this. So that's I won't lie to you that it's just a skill issue for everybody else. Maybe that's a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke.
I'm glad that's a joke, Adam. That is rather harsh, but yeah, I mean, you're not exactly wrong. You are proving yourself to be pretty good, even amongst the best of the rest here. So fantastic performance here today. Ross, do you have anything to add?
Well done for proving me and Caitlin wrong and pulling off another one stop. That's the second one we've seen this season, and again, we both thought that it wasn't going to happen, and it happened. So great job.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyway, Russ, we've got 2 other people in the broadcast room right now. Actually, do you want to bring in David? Because he had quite an eventful race.
Yeah, go on. I'll chat to David. Why not? Thank you very much for joining us, Adam, and of course, congratulations on your victory as well.
Yeah, congrats, Adam.
And well, we should have David Fidock in now with us. So, David, can you hear us?
You have got him, and I can hear you.
Brilliant stuff. Well, David, great race there for you. The alternate strategy working out an absolute charm. Just we must be pretty happy with that one.
Happy for being the best result of the season so far, but yeah, just gutted I didn't push harder on Canapino earlier in the final stint because Leon was close and some other one, I think. But I was just too cautious and I had way too much push to pass left at the end of the race. So, yeah. But again, ruined by my nemesis of qualifying. So.
Well, it's it's not all about one lap pace. It's about where you are after the checkered flag. And you're qualifying. At the end of the day, it can always be better. It can always be better for everyone, unless you're sat on pole. But still a great race for you, and surely actually give you some momentum moving forward for the next few rounds.
Yeah, definitely. We felt good for this one. Myself and Florian worked hard. Improved the setup, obviously not enough, but there's some things we can work on for the next race too. But yeah, things are looking better anyway.
And of course, coming to Portsmouth next time as well. Is that a track you fond of?
Yeah, last time I raced there, I think was 2015 against Philip.
Oh, that's quite a while ago.
Yeah, it's quite a while ago, but yeah, it's a nice little track. Going to test everyone with setups, I guess, with the off-camber corners and stuff. So yeah, should be good fun.
And yeah, of course, coming home best result of the season. Yeah, of course, as you said, could have been better, especially on the qualifying front. But overall, an evening you can be happy with.
Yeah, I guess we can all say could have been better, but I'm just glad I avoided the lap 1 crashes and hoping to stay with Jeff after he passed me second stint in DRS, but he was just too quick. God knows how he done that on the tires. I'm going to have to rub his legs or something to try and get that magic over to my car. But yeah, it was a good race. I enjoyed that, yeah. Just gutted I couldn't get those last 2 places.
Oh, fair enough. But, at the end of the day, still, great result for you. Could have been better as always, but, some momentum going forward in your best result of the season so far. Thanks for joining us, David, and good job out there.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, David. Okie dokie. Well, that is all we've got time for today, but thank you all very much for tuning in and for watching this Australian Grand Prix of GPVWC Super League. We will be back next week for the Formula Sprint 2 and Formula Sprint 1 races from Portugal. And then, of course, in 2 weeks' time, we have the not just the Super Lights on Tuesday, but we also have the Portuguese Grand Prix, the GPVWC Portuguese Grand Prix on the Thursday. So, without further ado, what am I talking about? Anyway. Okay, thank you very much for joining us as well, Ross McIntyre. It's always great to commentate alongside you. Also, Szymon Frelik for providing the broadcast and the cameras, the sights and sounds that you all saw today. That's all from us, and good night.